All right, well, I got to get to Sam Love right quick. You don't have to go anywhere. You know,
Okay.
I got to get to Sam. He's got to talk about this event really quick.
All right.
Hello, Mr. Sam Love.
Hey, good evening.
Yes,
Hey.
yes, the great Sam Love, who always has something positive going on here in the city of Gary. So, what are you up to, my brother?
Oh man, well, if I could take a quick minute, I want to celebrate some Gary artists.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Major awards. So I'm leading a training program for artists in basic business skills.
Mhm.
This
Oh,
August,
this is
in a month.
interesting.
Mhm.
Artists worrying about money. Okay, this is interesting. I'm curious.
So this is through the Indiana Arts Commission. This is the state agency, and the program is called On-Ramp.
Okay.
I was a part of the 2019 group, and it really changed things for the better for me. So because of the CARES Act, the Indiana Arts Commission was able to create not one on-ramp this year, but 6. And they did them regionally. So they asked me to spearhead doing the Northwest Indiana. We have 15 fellows, and of the 15, 6 of them are either originally from Gary or currently live in Gary. So over a third of the people who are getting this training and a $2,000 fellowship to put a project in action, over a third of them come from Gary, Indiana.
Well, that's wonderful.
And we'll be doing work in the community of Gary, Indiana. So I think some of the names might be familiar, like McKinya Dilworth, the playwright.
Yes.
Ish Muhammad, who's from Hammond, but has done so much work over the decades in Gary.
Uh-huh.
Young Raymar Brunson, the videographer. and
Oh,
great
yes,
friend
I've
of
seen a
mine.
lot of his work.
Oh, you're going to see a lot more. Trust me. He's there. Terry Chionard, who is a very talented printmaker. Jessica Rogers, who is also in the Gary Anthology. Crystal Wilson, who is also in the
Yes.
Gary Anthology. So
Great poet.
I'm just ecstatic. This just came out yesterday, and I can finally talk about it publicly. So cheers to them, and cheers to you all for letting me get that out. But I was calling to talk about farming.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we want to talk about urban farming with the great Sam Love. So I see you all over the Twitter page at Gary Area. Anybody who wants to follow the great Sam Love, I suggest you do that. If you're from this region, at Gary Area, that's one word, Gary Area. And you always have something going on in terms of farming. So exactly what's going on with that right now?
Well, it's been really interesting. You know, the past, I'd say 10 years, there's been a movement growing and more people getting involved and more people just accepting urban agriculture as a way to address things like food apartheid. Some people use the term food desert. You know, we talk about inequities in the system, healthy eating, and all that. When I started doing community organizing work in Gary over a decade ago, we would meet older folks who grew, maybe they were from the South and brought the skill with them. And we'd meet a lot of young people who were kind of interested in learning it, but middle-aged folks who, we're not interested, nobody's interested. So we'd be like, no, people are interested. Well, now we got Fake Farms, Stewart House, Mystical Farms, Peace Farms, Shannon Farms, whole host of other projects. A lot of the schools had pretty sophisticated gardens running before COVID, and I think there's a lot of eagerness to get that going again. So Purdue ended up doing a program called the Gary Urban Farming Initiative, and I was in the cohort for that. There's 2 so far, and there'll be a 3rd one. So folks should, look up Purdue Extension, and they'll put word out when the 3rd cohort, because it was free and we learned so much. And then I ended up getting an internship. 9 of us got an internship. So the reason why you see me all over town is because the internship's sending me to every corner of the city, because there's action happening everywhere. And that to me is wonderful. I don't think I could just go to one place, be on my backyard garden all the time. But to see the breadth of the movement here and to see how much success people have had over the past few years, it's really been inspiring. And I'd love to see Gary, I'm not trying to rank cities here, but I'd like to see Gary catch up to places like Detroit or even South Bend in terms of presence of urban agriculture. If there's lots that aren't being used, let's put them to use the way the Cuban people did during the special period when the United States was blockading them and they lost their support from the Soviet Union. They turned to permaculture to save their lives. And they grew food in every corner, and they had support of their government to go out and do that. And let's make that happen here, because people are not eating healthy.
Nope.
My friend Maya had sent you her story in the Gary Anthology, which is now available free online at another Chicago magazine, talks about running into old friends and how unhealthy they were, and how she believes it was connected to what they were eating. Let's get people connected to the processes of growing, you know, from conception up to death. Ecology. Gary is the birthplace of the study of ecology. Henry Coles Chandler from the University of Chicago in the 1890s did his landmark studies here. So let's make that a part of what we learned. Yeah, big. He went to the dunes and studied how the whole landscape changed naturally.
Hey,
what
Sam,
I found with young people. Yeah, sure.
I've started. Well, actually, I should say, to give credit to whom credit is due. My lovely wife Lanita has got a garden in our backyard, and my daughters Danny and Dinah, they go out there with her, and I do much of the heavy lifting stuff, you know, building stuff and moving stuff, but that's pretty much, you know, the extent. But what are some of the things that you can do if you're a homeowner, or even if you live in an apartment, you know, as far as building your own piece of gardening nirvana in Gary? What are some of the things that you can do to get started?
I think the first thing is to just pay attention to where your sunlight is. And then what you can do is either get some containers and get some good soil and get some plants and get those in there and water them every day. And you don't have to on the days it's raining, but I water mine twice a day, before the sun and then just when the sun's setting. So that's probably the quickest way. I wouldn't necessarily recommend people just dig their grass up and start putting plants right in the bare soil, unless you know the history of that property. Gary doesn't have the same issues like East Chicago or Hammond does, because residential and industry were always kept separated. Not always, but mostly separated. But there are, you know, airborne pollutants that fall in. So what Faith Farms and others do, you build up, you know, maybe a foot worth of mulch, or compost, which is a lot. But start small. I started when I moved back to Northwest Indiana. My mom bought me 4 herb pots, and it amazed me how, if you prune them correctly, they just grew back even bigger. So I had fresh herbs for 6 months, and I just have grown out from there over the past 8 years. So that would be me. If you've never done it before, start small. If you're in an apartment, you know, there are urban farms and gardens where you can rent a plot, different sizes, up from like $10 a year up to $20 a year.
Wow.
And they're really cool. The sociable stuff, that's really cool. So like the Rotary Gardens in Miller have that, and the Stewart House Gardens on 15th in Massachusetts have that. We're coming out to one of their volunteer days, usually on Saturdays.
You know,
so that option's available.
Yeah, we actually, over at St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church, we have a community garden, and it's free. We've got the dirt, we've got the mulch, we've got the plants, and we love to have people come out and get involved in it, and really not only get involved in the community garden, but apply that same practice, those same skill sets in their own backyard. Like you mentioned at the beginning, there was a time when it was fairly common for people to have gardens in their backyard. I know my grandparents did.
Yeah, Maya and I talked to about 8 different people just on the east side community of Gary, like Pulaski and Ironwood around there, and we found all kinds of people who are willing to share. These are old school people, and who've been doing this a long time, and just so beautiful to see what they were doing. I've heard people say, not necessarily because the facts are nothing, but I've heard people say, well, community gardening won't work in Gary because pretty much everybody has a lawn. Most people live in a home, whether they own it or rent it. But that may not be true for everybody.
Right.
So if we're going to talk about accessibility, then you do have to consider the people that live in apartments or live in yards that have complete shade or are swampy or don't get enough sun. So, you know, we just have to build a community and know begin to learn what the true needs are before all the big institutions institutions and money people come in and start telling us how to do everything.
Right.
We're talking about that today. So,
yo, Sam,
Yeah.
can you stick around, or do you have to go? Because we have to go to.
No,
I
can stick around.
Okay, yeah. Well, we have to go to a commercial break here on WLTH 1370 AM. The number is 219-885-1371. If you got a question, a credit question for Mr. Mark Bowman, or if you want to talk about urban farming with Sam Love, please give us a call. We'll be right back after this. All right, folks. We are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. We're on with Sam Love on the phones to talk about urban farming and going on around here in Northwest Indiana. And we still have Mr. Mark Bowman with us.
That's right. You know what? I don't want to throw away my shot, man.
Hello.
Because we
Sam,
gonna have to get these guys back again.
Yes.
Oh, that's too funny.
What's up, Sam?
I'm back. I think I got thrown off there.
Oh.
We did not.
Maybe
do
that
it.
was my. Maybe that was my bad. I don't know. But I first got into urban farming when I heard about this ex-basketball player's name was Will Allen, right?
Yeah.
And he's up in Milwaukee, and he talked about he was a part of this movement called aquaponics. I think that's what it was. And I was always asking, and I tried to ask when I was around some of the people here in the city of Gary when I went to different events, community events, organization events, about if that was possible, because really aquaponics was, I actually saw a documentary on this. They would actually get fish. They would have fish, a fish tank, and the fish would create, I guess they would create what?
Nutrients. They create nutrients.
Yeah, let's just call it nutrients. And they would use that to fertilize the plants. And then the plant, like it was like this sustaining loop.
Okay.
Where the fish, the water, and the plants, they would all feed off of each other. And I always kept asking, is something like that possible here? And since you know who Will Allen is, I guess I could ask you, would something like that be possible here in the city of Gary?
Well, I'll start. Excuse me. You mentioned Will Allen. He's actually been to Gary.
Really?
He helped advise Faith Farms. And the concept that he helped them understand was scaling up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Faith Farms started back in, I don't know if it was 2013 or 14, you know, they can tell their own history, but I think they started with 4 raised beds. And if you go there now, I mean, you know, it's almost an entire city block. You got goats and chickens and fruits and greens and you name it. And what Will showed them what to do was how to just start from that little bit and not just scale up a little bit, but scale up to a big level that you can achieve. So he taught them a lot about like building the soil quality up and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as aquaponics with the fish, I mean, I've heard people talk about wanting to do it here. Most of them were not from here because it would require a great capital outlay for all the machinery and things like that. Mm-hmm. But what I have seen some people doing around here is aquaponics, where you have water rather than a soil medium that you're growing in. Mm-hmm. And there are a few examples of that are happening here. But most people are just, I think, enthralled with the idea of getting their hands in the earth and converting unused, ugly spaces into beautiful, productive, relaxing spaces. So,
right.
That's where we're at. I think, you know, we have there's not a ton of resources here as well, but people are figuring out what they want and need to do their way, which I personally think is better than a wealthy institution coming in with money but heavy strings attached to it. At least, you know, for now. I think the people figure it out. But yeah, I imagine that stuff will grow, and if anybody is starting to do aquaponics, we'd hear about it, you know.
Right. So I always wondered exactly what made you like what exactly made you get into this per se. Like, I mean, I know you I know you got your hand in just about everything.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to get into the pot sale because
yeah. Not what some people might be thinking too. I've been
no. No, it's not legal in this state, folks.
No. Well, my route, it's kind of weird now. I'm like a couple of generations removed from agriculture, but like most American people, and most people around the world, you know, my ancestors from a few generations back were all farmers. So maybe we could say it's in the DNA.
Mm.
My grandfather, who was born to Dutch immigrant parents and grew up in the Kankakee region, when he bought the first and only house he ever owned, which was the last couple of years of his life, he tore up the backyard and put a garden in. And like many kids of my generation, I was at my grandparents a lot because my parents were both working lots of jobs.
Yeah.
So I just helped him. And I remember he grew gooseberries, which I still think are disgusting. So I didn't get to share in the benefit of all that work. But I don't know, maybe it was in there. But I think it was when I started living in Chicago and I saw an urban garden in the middle of a densely packed urban neighborhood. And I thought, this is something different. This is amazing. And now it's more ubiquitous. I mean, you go to Detroit and they've really done all kinds of amazing things. And that's all, you know, most of it's been Black and community-led endeavors. Because I think if urban farming is going to have a benefit the way people keep drumming it up, it's going to be people reaching their neighbors and not like complicated markets and selling microgreens to fancy restaurants, which people could do that. That's cool. But like my friend Maya said today, you know, she's like, I think the revolution is if I just show my neighbor how to grow her own tomatoes. And I was like, yeah, that's going to have more impact than anything else. But yeah, and I guess some of the like community organizing I've done, it brought me into contact with organic farmers. I was down in Hopkins Park, which is in Kankakee County, Pembroke Township, which is a community founded by a free Black man in the 1860s, not a former slave or anything like that. They're very adamant in that history. And it has the highest percentage of Black organic farmers, like anywhere in the country. And it really is like, you feel like you're going back in time. The roads have that reddish clay dirt texture to them, and you don't see all the modern accoutrements. And we were involved in helping them stop the for-profit prison. So we got to know folks down there. And yeah, that's an amazing thing. And like kind of what they're doing, even though it's rural, it does tie into what folks in Gary are doing in an urban situation.
All right, so, and real quick, we got to talk about the pot sale.
The business. Get this in right at the end. So we were gifted all kinds of beautiful ceramic, Chinese, Indonesian, Vietnamese flower pots from a building owner here in Gary. He gave them to us, and we decided we were going to sell them inexpensively as to raise money for our urban garden at Oasis City Cultivators at Peace Farms. So next Wednesday, and probably most Wednesdays, as long as the weather's good, we'll be at 3510 West 15th. That's the old Armory. It's right west of the Family Dollar. And you'll see our table and our wares out there. So we got great deals. So I know somebody bought some pots for $50 and sold them for almost $200 an hour later. So if you're entrepreneurial, get out there. We have many. We just want to move them because this money's going to help us work with the community and get and consult other people on how they can, right to the Reverend's question, we are working with people who want to convert parts of their yards into gardens. So this would help us have money to even get there and get some stuff started. So come on by 3510 West 15th, Peace Farms at the old Armory building.
Yes.
And thank you so much for the time to talk about
this.
This.
The great Sam Love. Thank you for calling in, brother.
Thank you for being there, both of you gentlemen. I appreciate the kind words and support.
All right.
All righty.
Yes. And Mark Bowman from MMK Counseling, right? Consulting, I'm sorry.
We're gonna have him back.
Yeah, we definitely have to have him back in here at some time in the future. Where can the people reach you?
They can reach me. My phone number is 773-771-1383. Again, that's 773-771-1383. I am on Instagram at Mark Bowman 421. My email address is marcustwo@hotmail.com.
Okay. Well, all right.
And the two, because I got two sons named Marcus.
Okay. Yeah.
As the first said, you try to be like George Foreman.
All right, folks.
Alrighty. Thank you.
And that is, unfortunately, that's it. This always flew by, folks. You can chop it up with me on Twitter at The Chemist Lives. The Chemist is spelled with the K, as I'm a product of the Gary Community School System. If you didn't get to hear all of this show, I'm definitely going to repost stuff on my Twitter page at The Chemist Lives and on LinkedIn. It's my Scott Cannon LinkedIn. So where can they find you at, Rev?
Well, wow. You know what? This Sunday, I have got to travel.
Oh.
As you know, I'm actually here in the city as a missionary. So every now and again, I have to go out and do fundraising. So this week, the campus pastor of Valparaiso University, Pastor James Wetstein, will be at St. John's and Good Shepherd for me. But normally you can find me at St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church on Sunday mornings at 9 and Monday evenings at 6. You can find me at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church on 25th Avenue, across street from Gary Roosevelt, on Sunday mornings at 11. And you can always, of course, you can hunt me down and find me on Facebook. Occasionally I do actually post things, mostly about what I'm barbecuing or what the girls are doing.
Yes.
But do drop me a line, say hi, ask me a question, continue a conversation that we started here on Issues and Answers.
Yes. And you can listen to us every Friday night here. Same bat time, same bat channel, 6 to 8 Central Standard Time. So for station owner Marion Williams, station manager Natalie Ammons, and the Reverend Delwyn Campbell, I am Scott Cannon, and this was Issues and Answers on WOTX 1371. God bless the working class. God bless labor and Rev.
God bless you.
And we are out, humans.
Yeah.